Chapter 1521. Vance and Vanta still couldn't believe it in the beginning. The rodents didn't show any signs of intention to harm them and dug into the ground instead, flinging their claws. The men gaped. Vance wished he could take a picture of the unbelievable scene and share it on his social media. With the help of the rodents, they saw the coffin appearing soon after. The dark surroundings and the moonlight made it look eerie. The fearless Olivia pointed at it. "Open it." "Okay." The men removed the nails to fling the cover open, mentally preparing themselves at the same time. They looked into the content. Instead of a human skeleton, they saw bones of wild cats and dogs. What the? Didn't they say the Lovels were dead? Dr. Fordham, should we open the remaining coffin? No. Bury it. Olivia took a video of it as evidence. Willow blew the flute again, and the rodents dispersed under her orders, more obedient than any domestic animals ever. While they were burying the coffin, Olivia shared the video with Avery. The trip was worth it. She didn't expect herself to dig up something exclusive. Avery contacted her. "Olivia, what is this?" She recounted her findings to him. "The real Ginger is still alive. She staged her death and made Mr. Sean live in guilt for years. Her whole family played their roles in this as well. I think that person had taken action a long time ago. Ginger is just one of the chess pieces." Avery suppressed the fuming rage in him. Why didn't she do it directly? "I reckon it's because she didn't want to draw attention. Killing someone is easy, but it's easy to get suspicious and get to the bottom of it when it comes to a tragic death. Incidents like this can be camouflaged as a pure accident. Your illness is one of the accidents, too. I'm afraid Miss Quinn was lured to go overseas and got shot." Loud noises could be heard from the other side of the line. He was exasperated. Before this, their guesses were simply suspicions. Now, they could conclude that none of it was an accident, someone was behind this. That mastermind spent over 10 years just to take the Fordham family down. That was one evil yet patient hunter. The most dreadful point of all was the fact that the mastermind could be Avery's family. That was the one thing he couldn't accept. "Are you okay, Mr. Avery?" The air went silent momentarily before Avery said, "I thought we were one, but to think that there's actually a mole in the family causing all this trouble. Be careful, Olivia. I'll send help. Take Ginger down and dig up some clues regarding the mastermind from her." "Sure." Olivia quickly descended the hill. Every year, Ginger could only spend one night with Sean, so she would surely cherish every second of it. Fortunately, the digging process took up little time. Olivia had time to spare, so she was rather relaxed. She made her way to Sean's room in the darkness, but there was no sign of Ginger. Not even Sean. It was a trap. Previously, Ginger simply wanted to spend time with Sean. But this time, Olivia had alarmed her. Sean was in danger. Chapter 1522. Ginger noticed. "Dr. Fordham. It's not safe here. Let's get out of here, fast." Vance urged Olivia. She threw a bottle at him. "Here's the antidote. Wake everyone up. There's only one way out of the village. They haven't gone far. Protect Mr. Sean at all costs." Avery sent help. It would take at least 30 minutes before they arrived by helicopter. Understood. Vance and Vanta woke everyone up. Reginald shook his head, trying to shake off the dizziness. "Wasn't I texting my wife? Why did I fall asleep? Oh, I feel dizzy." Before this, they would sleep through the night and wake up after the drug wore off. Thus, there was no abnormality. Now that someone woke them up by force, their body couldn't get used to it. "Mr. Lind, Ginger took Mr. Sean away. We have to go after them." "Dr. Fordham, are you talking in your dream? Ginger's been dead for many years. Only her bones are left in this world. She and her family staged their deaths. While you were asleep, I dug up their coffins to make sure of it. She disguised as Mrs. Powell to take Mr. Sean away. He could be in danger," she recounted. It was too much for him to take in, so he couldn't react in time. She urged, "Okay, enough with the explanation. We don't have time for this. Bring some men with you and go after them." "What about you?" "I'll take some men with me to check the village. If she doesn't have an accomplice, it'll be difficult for her to move a grown man, especially since she has a problem walking." They may be still hiding within the village. I've told Mr. Avery about it. Help will arrive soon. There's no time to waste. Hurry up, get moving. She shoved him into the car. Vance said anxiously, Dr. Fordham, if she has an accomplice, it's too dangerous for you to look for her in the village. If she has made early preparations, going after them isn't safe as well. It's highly likely to find her within the village. Olivia looked at Willow, the trump card. Countless snakes, rodents, and insects lived in the mountains. If there was danger, Olivia could take the enemies by surprise with a counterattack. Willow, could you track Mr. Sean's whereabouts? Willow made a gesture. Yes, but I will need his belongings. That's easy. Olivia scooped the jacket on the bed and cut out a few pieces of the inner fabric. Willow fished out her flute and blew it. The whistle rounded up the dogs within the village. She placed the fabric on the ground so that the dogs could sniff it. The previous rodent tsunami had already blown Vance's and Vanta's minds away, but it paled in comparison with what they were witnessing right now. Willow was manipulating the dogs to track down Sean. Not even the scriptwriters would write this kind of absurdity for telenovelas. Then, the dogs ran away. Vance gulped. Will this work? Dogs have a better sense of smell than us. If Ginger is still in the village, we'll definitely find her. I have a hunch. What is it? Ginger took Sean away in the heat of the moment. It's not in the mastermind's plan. If she wanted to kill Sean, the best time to do it was a while ago. Why would she take a disabled person away? That is true, but she staged her death that year. I can't figure out what she's thinking. Maybe she had no choice, said Olivia meaningfully. Ginger cried and bore hostility toward Olivia, indicating that she still loved Sean. This was the best Olivia could ask for. If she could catch Ginger, it would be easy to find out who the mastermind was. Chapter 1523. Olivia gave it a serious thought. If Ginger wanted to kill Sean, she had many opportunities to do so in the past few years. Sean would have been dead. However, she didn't do anything. She didn't want to hurt him. Olivia recalled the way Ginger looked at her and what Sean said at Ginger's gravestone. He intended to get over the past to start a new life. That and Olivia's intimate actions toward Sean made Ginger jealous. She couldn't accept the fact that he was going to step back when she was still in love with him. Thus, the plan to take him away was unplanned. He should be safe at the moment. Still, no one knew what would happen after this. Olivia had to find them as soon as possible. Although the village wasn't a big place, it wasn't easy to find a person. This was a secluded village. Unlike in the city, not every family here installed a surveillance camera at home. Besides, the night limited their vision. The search wouldn't be easy unless they had extra help. She put her hope on the dogs. Willow pulled Olivia's hand, trying to comfort her. Olivia did her best. Even if something happened to Sean, it had nothing to do with her. That was simply his fate. If a 3-year-old could understand that, Olivia definitely could, too. Maybe Sean had such a saddening past that he earned pity from Olivia. She didn't want him to get hurt. Fortunately, they found something in no time. They chased after the dogs. As Olivia had expected, Ginger and Sean were still at the neck of the woods. Some birds flew above them, and the calls of the owls gave them chills. Someone turned on a flashlight, providing a source of light within the woods. Vance scanned to the left and right. Are you mistaking something, Dr. Fordham? These dogs are not police dogs. They aren't specially trained. Look, this is an abandoned wood. Forget about coming here at night, no one comes here during the day. There are only leaves scattered around. There are no signs of humans. The dogs kept sniffing the leaves. Olivia shook her head. These dogs often go hunting with their owners. Their survival ability in the wild is strong. They still possess their inherent sense of smell. It's not an exaggeration to call them hunting dogs. Mr. Sean has to be in these woods. Humans could lie, but not animals, especially dogs. If it wasn't for their loyalty, they wouldn't have been chosen to be trained by the humans. Olivia raised her head, looking at the branches. It reminded her of something. Previously, Jack built a secret base on the island under the forest. Ginger might have had such intentions for a long time. She couldn't change reality and couldn't grow old with her loved man, so she wanted to take Sean away. They must be underground. The dogs started sniffing from all directions before gathering in one spot. Vance and Vanta exchanged looks. Stay here, Dr. Fordham. We will go check to see if it's safe. Sure. They slowly walked to the center of the dogs. Vance managed to find a door handle among the dried leaves. They could pull the wooden door open. You're right, Dr. Fordham. We found it. Chapter 1524. The dogs either sat at one side or circled Willow, wagging their tails as though they were trying to fish for praise. Olivia reminded, she must have prepared something for defense. Be careful. Vance opened the wooden door to reveal the wooden stairs that led one to darkness. It seemed like a cellar basement. The two men descended the stairs carefully. A while later, they called, Dr. Fordham, we found Mr. Sean. But we don't see Ginger. Olivia took the stairs only to see Sean lying on a wooden bed. There was no sight of Ginger. Olivia's guess was right. Taking Sean away was completely unplanned. Ginger didn't expect Olivia to discover the truth so quickly. She couldn't move Sean out of the village alone, so she hid him there. Unfortunately for Ginger, Olivia found him almost immediately. Mr. Sean is fine. He'll wake up when the day comes. What do we do now, Dr. Fordham? Should we return? There's no need to rush. Bring the men to track Ginger down. She should still be in the village. We'll stay here until Mr. Avery's help comes. Don't do anything reckless. After all, they were in the middle of the mountains. The night vision was a problem. If someone sneaked an attack, they might be wiped out. Staying still and doing nothing could work sometimes. Olivia and Willow guarded beside Sean. Ginger wasn't found even after the sky lit up. Olivia saw that coming. Considering Ginger's identity, she wouldn't show herself now that she had given the game away. Fortunately, Sean was safe and sound. Olivia was calm. Not long after, helicopters landed in the village. In case things went south, Olivia sent Sean away first. Some men were left behind in the village to look for Ginger. By the time Sean woke up, he found himself in the villa. He propped himself up. His head felt heavy. He could barely lift it. Mr. Lind. Reginald entered the room and handed clothes to Sean. You're finally awake, Mr. Sean. When did we come back? What time is it? How did I get home? It's a long story. I shall let Dr. Fordham explain everything to you. She's our savior, Mr. Sean. If it wasn't for her, you could have. Despite the grogginess, Sean could tell that something huge happened. He took a simple shower and headed outside in his wheelchair. It was the afternoon. Willow was drawing in the yard as though nothing bad happened. Olivia served a nutritious meal. You're up, Mr. Sean. You must be hungry. Dig in. She added the antidote to the food to stave off the drug. Dr. Fordham, about last night. Take one step at a time. Eat first. I'll tell you everything after that. Sean finished it in no time. You can tell me now, Dr. Fordham. She nodded and looked at Reginald. Mr. Lind, Willow said she wanted to go to the beach to collect seashells. Could you take her there? Sure, Dr. Fordham, answered Reginald swiftly. His response appeared odd to him. Why was he so obedient to her? She didn't give off an imposing air intentionally, but there was something in the air around her that made others listen to her. By the time he pulled his senses back, he already listened to her orders. Chapter 1525. Olivia asked the others to leave before starting the conversation. Mr. Sean, you knew that Mr. Avery assigned me to be your doctor, but there's one thing that we kept away from you. Sean noticed something was off, and his expression turned serious. What is it? Many things have happened to your family in the past few years. He thinks that this couldn't be a coincidence, that someone was behind this. So, I took this opportunity to look into the truth. As the bright man he was, he understood what she meant right away. His hands gripped the armrest as he stared at Olivia. His eyes were cold. You mean the car accident I was involved in was a setup? Yes, it's not only that. Even your relationship was one of the plans. No way. Sean got all agitated. If his legs were fine, he would have sprung up to his feet in response. His pale expression turned red. How could it be a devised plan? Gigi and I genuinely loved each other. I believe in that. It is true that you genuinely loved each other, but it is also true that it was one of their plans. She took out her phone to show him the pictures she took at the cemetery. Look at this. The familiar place in the picture angered him. What have you done? This is disrespectful to the dead. How could you? He stopped midway through his words as he could tell that the skeleton in the coffin was of small animals. The picture was in high resolution, so he could tell that at first glance. This, as you can see, there's no human skeleton in their gravestones. Ginger is still alive, she explained patiently. I saw it myself last night. You met Gigi, he then muttered to himself, no way. She died in a car accident. How could she still be alive? Mr. Sean, the story doesn't end here. Every year, she disguised herself as Mrs. Powell to cook you meals, drugged meals. Once the bodyguards were deep asleep, she could spend time with you. Gigi, is she doing fine? Obviously, Sean had noticed something off. On every visit, he and his bodyguards would fall into a deep sleep after eating at Claire's place. But nothing happened. Finally, he knew what happened in between, thanks to Olivia's discovery. She looks good, but I'm not sure about her mentality. Instead of her well-being, you should be asking who's the mastermind. She told him the entirety of the situation. Only then did he know that so many things happened while he was asleep. The moment he learned of the mastermind's plan, his expression changed. How could he? He's trying to eliminate all of us. At this point, who would give a fig about their love? Avery still cares for me when he's already ill. How irresponsible of me. Calm down, Mr. Sean. You were drugged. Besides, you're poisoned, so it's best if you stay calm. Getting angry won't do good to your health. Okay, tell me what to do, Dr. Fordham. I will do my best to resolve this issue. Although Ginger had set you up, she fell hard for you, and she still loves you. I intentionally flirted with you last night, and she got jealous. Only you can lure her out. Then, we'll be able to know who her master is. Chapter 1526. Olivia told Sean about her and Avery's recent findings. Upon learning that, Sean began to regret wasting so many years dwelling on his grief. Thank you, Dr. Fordham. You risked your life to save me. I will surely repay the favor in the future. You're exaggerating, Mr. Sean. I became your doctor simply to repay Mr. Avery's favor. He helped me a few years back then. Don't worry, I will do everything in my power to help you. Cheer up. Don't put yourself down like before. Don't let Mr. Avery's effort go down the drain. I understand. The glint in Sean's eyes was different. Avery was terribly ill, but he had to sustain the whole family all alone. In the meantime, Sean didn't do any of his duties under Avery's wing and caused the family trouble instead, worrying Avery. This time, Sean could see reality very clearly. Dr. Fordham, I will do as you say. But I have one question. You said I'm poisoned. Is my life in danger? That person gave you a chronic drug. Although it has started to affect your organs, it's not like there's no treatment for it. Not only can I remove the poison from your body, but I can also treat your legs. Olivia continued, there's a low chance of recovering them, but I can install prosthetics on you. Prosthetics? Yes, to replace your bones. People won't notice it from the outside. Plus, they're stronger than human legs. Sean had heard of the newfound technology in passing. However, the woman in front of him was young. Not even the top orthopedists could do it. Could she make it work? Unbeknownst to him, Olivia's skills improved after having Marina as her experiment. Sean's eyes betrayed his hesitance. Olivia noticed that and explained, I'm not lying. My mentor is a prominent doctor. He's familiar with the new technologies in the world. I believe that we're close enough. I wouldn't have told you this treatment if I wasn't confident. I have faith in you, Dr. Fordham. He had faith in her medical skills after she managed to treat his insomnia. Although he didn't have much confidence in that technology, he was willing to believe in Olivia. To put it more precisely, he believed in Avery. Avery would never put Sean in harm's way. Mr. Sean, the treatments and surgery will be done secretly. You have to promise me that you must keep this a secret. Not even Mr. Lind can know. Only Mr. Avery will know this. Even if you can walk later on, you mustn't show that to others. Okay, when will the surgery be? It is a complicated technology. I'll stimulate your shins for now. For the sake of your health and appearance, we'll have to wait until your legs get better. As long as you do as I say, we'll be able to do the surgery soon. If an outsider comes, you have to pretend that you've fallen in love with me. He nodded his head seriously. Okay, Dr. Fordham, thank you in advance. Resting her hands behind her, she looked solemn. We'll find out who the mastermind is very soon. Chapter 1527. Olivia was preparing for the surgery as Sean's condition improved, thanks to the treatments. He turned over a new leaf, no longer dwelling on the unfortunate past. His goal was aligned with Avery's. They were striving to find out who the mastermind was. Sean's improving condition put Troy at ease. Troy cleaned out his stuff and returned to his work. It was only when Troy left that Olivia shifted her gaze from him. He's crazy about drawings and handicrafts. Designing is his whole world. Once, he flew to Arlandia just to learn double-sided embroidery in person. It took him 6 months. He even spent a fortune on a gemstone to craft it himself. Spent a whole year on that. I don't think a workaholic and hobby fanatic like him would have the time to plot something like this. Besides, our father intended to hand over the company to him that year. It surprised him so much that he went to a small village by the borders overnight to learn a unique stitching. He calls himself a lost cause. Olivia frowned. Is it possible that he's doing this to mislead everyone? He spends time outdoors often. Who knows what he did out there? If the mastermind were one of the Fordhams, Troy held the most suspicions. The professionals have been learning complicated embroidery since they were young. They practiced for almost 10 years, but he's talented enough to reach that level within a year and a half. He wouldn't have been able to do it without spending time learning it. Don't forget that he has won a lot of big awards. Since you're certain that it isn't Mr. Troy, the following suspects would be Mr. Vox and Miss Jacqueline. Could it be one of them? That was a hard question for Sean. Vox almost died in a fire. The firemen risked their lives to rescue him. Then, he aspired to contribute to the country when he grew up by protecting others. He dreamt of being a hero. You can say that he's the only righteous person among us. He doesn't play tricks. I don't think he'd set this up. Although he rarely shows up, he has made a lot of honorable achievements. It can't be him. That leaves only Jacqueline's face conjured in their mind at the same time. Sean murmured, Jacqueline, I don't think she is the one either. Having said that, he lost the confidence he had while judging Troy and Vox. Why not? She was a premature baby because Mom got into trouble in another country. I heard that it was a very dangerous night. She lost a lot of blood, and we almost lost both of them. Dad even personally sought revenge for it. When she recovered, she was barren. Otherwise, we're sure we would have had more siblings. They loved each other a lot. Since Jacqueline was a premature baby, she was born weak. She stayed in the incubator for 2 months before we could take her home. We care for her the most because her body is weak. She grew up with love. Why would she set this up? Chapter 1528. Every murder has a motive. Jacqueline is our little princess. Why would she hurt her sibling? That doesn't make sense. Sean shook his head. Besides, she has been obedient since she was young. Just that. She sounds average to me compared to your other siblings. The Fordhams, including the late Quinn, were good at numbers. Troy could craft a dragon out of wood at the age of 4, and Avery was a genius. Jacqueline was relatively ordinary under her siblings, shadows. I think it's because she was a premature baby. She has been weak since she was young. She rarely joined co-curricular activities and indulged in hobbies. She was a late bloomer, but she worked hard ever since the day she could remember things. Even though she wasn't that bright, she put in effort. For example, our family could memorize a poem after listening to it once. The average kid might need to listen to it 5 times, but she needs to listen to it about 10 times. Still, she never complains. She'd repeat it 20 times until it was etched in her head. She's the most hard-working person. His statement was aligned with the records. Jacqueline worked hard to enroll in a prestigious school overseas. She won many prizes. However, compared to her talented siblings, who could easily reach their goals, she had to sacrifice 10 times more than they did. Someone like Jacqueline deserved respect. We're proud of her, too. Although she's an ordinary person, she works hard to make up for her lackings. She managed to study in a top international school without our help. She does charity often and even travels far away to teach people. She also established a studio to round up talents and forked up her own money to research complicated diseases. She's a strong and kind woman, helping many people out there. They called her an angel. I don't think someone as kind as her would be the mastermind. Sean sighed. Our parents loved each other very much, and we grew up in a loving environment. I don't think it's one of us. It could be our relatives. It wasn't that the possibility didn't occur to Avery and Olivia, but the family's unity rendered it difficult for outsiders to intervene in their household matters. So, things have been going well for Miss Jacqueline. She didn't get into any trouble. I asked Mr. Troy about it before he left. He got into trouble several times over the past few years. For instance, while he was flying to a fashion show, a madman on the plane demanded a detour. When they landed, the wings actually caught fire. If the plane had continued its journey, everyone on the plane would have been gone. He also met with an accident when he was on his way to a meeting. Had he not made a detour because he left a design draft, he would have been involved in a serious car crash. He would have been dead that day. Sean became concerned. Why didn't I know that? It's not only you. Not even Mr. Avery knew this. A lot of things happened under the roof. I heard that your mother is ill. He didn't want to worry everyone, so he kept it to himself. He brought it up because I asked. If what he said was true, the only person safe from trouble was Miss Jacqueline. Just because she hadn't been hurt doesn't mean that she's the mastermind, though. Chapter 1529. Olivia nodded. Yes, I don't have any proof of this yet. But that person is too skilled. I just want to remind you to consider all possibilities. All our problems can be solved as soon as we lure Ginger out. Noted, Dr. Fordham. Sean looked at his leg. When can I get surgery? Olivia had been performing acupuncture and soaking his legs in herbal waters. He felt like he was beginning to smell of herbs. Olivia noticed his sense of urgency. Well, I had wanted to wait until your body was at its peak condition before I performed the surgery. Since you're so anxious to get it done, I'll do it sooner. You'll be able to fend for yourself in the future if you run into any trouble. Really, Dr. Fordham, I can have the surgery now. That's right. I already asked Avery to prepare an operating room for us. We have to keep this operation a secret from everyone, even Mr. Lind. Okay, I'll do whatever you say. I'll leave it up to you to make the arrangements. Olivia planned to take Sean away via private plane with the excuse of taking him on a short trip. It was already nighttime when Jacqueline heard the news. What? Sean is out on a trip? The housekeeper stuttered. Yeah. I thought he was just going to the beach like he always does, but he hasn't returned yet. So, I went to ask Mr. Lind. He told me that Mr. Sean was in a bad mood and that he went on a trip with Dr. Fordham. A trip? With Dr. Fordham? Jacqueline rushed to the villa immediately. Reginald was about to turn in. He greeted her politely. Miss Jacqueline. Have you come to see Mr. Sean? Yeah, I have been too busy these days and haven't been visiting him. So, I've come to see him. I'm sorry, but Mr. Sean isn't home right now. He's not home. His legs are broken. Why aren't you with him? Reginald smiled and said, it's a long story. Miss Jacqueline, Mr. Sean's condition has improved a lot now that Dr. Fordham is taking care of him. I think they are attracted to each other. Mr. Sean finally said he wanted to go out on a trip after so long. Perhaps he might develop a relationship with Dr. Fordham. So, I decided not to be a third wheel. Jacqueline's jaw dropped when she heard such ridiculous reasoning. What? Sean and Dr. Fordham, how can they be together? Besides, she's given birth before. How is she worthy of Sean? Are you crazy, Mr. Lind? Other than that, Susie looked very plain. Even if Sean's legs were broken, he wouldn't have lowered his standards so much. In the past, I would have tried to talk Mr. Sean out of it. But you know how he's been in the past few years, Miss Jacqueline. He tried to take his own life multiple times. He has nothing to live for anymore. Dr. Fordham might not be a beautiful woman, but she's helped to improve Mr. Sean's condition significantly. He even treats her daughter very well. They have been getting along very well. Then, Reginald whispered in Jacqueline's ear, I even asked a fortune teller to check. It seems like they are very compatible. Jacqueline stomped her leg in frustration. Does that even matter? Maybe I need to look into their star signs. That's what the young ones are all talking about, isn't it? I'll ask her about that when she comes back. Looking at Reginald's happy expression, Jacqueline tried her best to suppress her anger. Where did they go? Chapter 1530. Reginald snapped back to reality. I heard that they were going to look at some ice sculptures. Are they out of their minds? Sean's unwell. How can she bring her somewhere so cold? Mr. Lind, you've been working for Sean for a long time. Back when he insisted on moving out, my parents told you to come with him. They wanted you to keep an eye on him. Look what you've done. You allowed him to leave with a stranger. Please calm down, Miss Jacqueline. Mr. Sean isn't a child anymore. It's a good thing that he finally has the desire to live again. He told me not to follow him. I can't exactly defy his orders, can I? Besides, Dr. Fordham is. Shut up. You've failed to take care of Sean, and you're coming up with these excuses. Save them for when you talk to my parents. Reginald looked at Jacqueline. She was normally gentle and kind, but it was like she was possessed at that moment. Her expression was cold. Reginald felt an inexplicable chill down his spine. His smile faded as he said with a straight face, Miss Jacqueline, I wasn't trying to make excuses. Mr. Sean's condition has been great recently. That's why Jacqueline stared at him. Mr. Lind, I think you've gone senile. How can a lowly doctor like her be a match for Sean? Even if he's crippled, he's still too good for her. Then, she took out her phone to call Sean. Her anger grew even more when she realized the call didn't go through. She proceeded to scold Reginald harshly. After she left, Reginald noticed that his knees were about to give. Jacqueline was really terrifying. He felt a little concerned after Jacqueline brought it up. Although Sean did bring bodyguards with him, he was not with him, after all. He couldn't possibly answer to the Fordham family if something happened to Sean. Reginald received a call from Sean the next morning checking in with him. He sighed in relief. Then, he told Sean about what happened with Jacqueline the night before. Mr. Sean, you wouldn't believe how furious Miss Jacqueline was. It was like she wanted to slit my throat. She was completely different from how she usually was. Sean fell silent for a moment. Jacqueline's just concerned about me. Forgive her. I'll be back in a few days. Reginald wanted to ask Sean where he was, but Sean had already hung up. He tried calling again, but Sean had already turned off his phone. After he hung up, Sean said to Olivia with a stern expression, Dr. Fordham, you were right. Jacqueline came over again. She even threw a big fit at Mr. Lind. They left without telling anyone, but Jacqueline arrived at Sean's home the same day. That was too much of a coincidence. It was likely she had spies in his house. Even though there wasn't any concrete proof yet, Jacqueline was currently the main suspect. It was already too much for Sean to take. Olivia knew how he felt. She was about to comfort him when a man in white called out from a distance, Sean. Sean looked back and saw that it was Avery. He had been through so much. So, he felt very emotional when he saw Avery again. Tears welled up in his eyes when he thought about how Avery was the one who had been protecting everyone in the family in secret. Why Avery? As Olivia wheeled Sean toward him. It's very nice to see you, Mr. Fordham. Olivia, you've done great work. The Fordham family is in your debt. He raised his hand to pat Olivia on the shoulder. Sean was confused. What did you call Dr. Fordham, Avery? I forgot to tell you. You should remember her. She was the one who gave us information on Quinn's whereabouts back then. Susie is just an alias. Her real name is Olivia Fordham.